first mistake I found was $1 million mistake for one of the beverage companies. And I thought, wow, I found this great thing. And then people told me that's not material. You just need to be present, and you need a commitment to keep continuing to do it, because carriers want to find other people that they can help grow their businesses. There's a lot of us out there that want to do that and give back and help people start from being that one single driver to master contractor to opening their own company where they have many, many drivers and in multiple locations. Mm-hmm. And if you look at CLDA history and you just pick some of the people that have been leaders over the years, you could see how one guy might have started with a car in his garage to whatever. There's so many stories like that.
Yeah.
One of the things that I think the CLDA can do better is explain to people how good we are at networking and how much business we share between all of our businesses. I don't know that number, but it's a huge number.
I had to fire my uncle from the company. I've certainly had plenty of arguments with my dad, and it makes Thanksgiving dinner pretty interesting, right? Have you ever had any experiences where you've had to had the difficult side of that environment, that family business environment?
Hi, I'm Joel Pinsky, the CEO of Global Messenger and Logistics, headquartered in Baltimore, Maryland. Do work all over the country. I'm also the president of the Customized Logistics and Delivery Association, and you're watching Last2First.
In the last mile world, we value technology that looks good but doesn't get the job done. That's why different is different. Built by courier pros with over 35 years of real-world operational experience. Sorting freight, dispatching drivers, missed scans. They built the technology platform that they always needed. You get lightning-fast dispatching and routing, a driver app that eliminates confusion and adds visibility. Back office automation and tools from on-demand to air freight, all in one place. Need proof? Their courier business grew 300% in just 3 weeks without any new hires and managing 150 drivers. Ready for tech that gets it? Visit deliverdifferent.com and book your demo today. All right, Last2First family, we are back with another episode, and today I have a treat for us. We have the current CLDA president who is in the house with us on the podcast today. And if you want to ever go Last2First, one of the best places you can hear about is from someone who's actually doing it, seeing it, living it, advocating for it around the country through the work that we do. And I'm excited to be joined by a good friend of mine, but also an industry leader, Mr. Joel Pinsky. Joel, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Jason. Glad to be here.
I'm glad to have you here. You're in my hometown, Austin. We got the CLDA in town for some board meetings, some events we just had. It's been a good week so far.
It's been a great week.
Yeah.
We just started doing the Connects. We had our Austin Connect last night.
It's an incredible event, right?
Great attendance. People didn't want to leave the room.
Yeah.
Continued down the road for hours. Yeah. I mean, Austin, great host city.
Yeah.
It's been a great time.
But what I appreciate about it, and you said it earlier today, this association, this industry has always been about the people and connecting dots. There's not very many gatekeepers in this space. It's different than you've been a part of other industries. We'll get into that in a second. But I've always found that people are very willing to share. And so last night was just a beautiful room. Newcomers, experienced folks, different people from all over the country just talking about this industry. It was really cool.
Yeah, I mean, what's nice about our industry versus some other industries is people are so willing to share information with one another.
Yeah.
They're open, they're honest. You have a question, ask me 3 times if you need to ask me. Call me anytime. And they really mean it. They're sincere.
Yeah.
I mean, I've found that all these years that I've been doing it, it's just, I have a question. All I have to do is pick up a phone. There'll be somebody there to answer it.
Yeah, I gave out my cell number to someone last night, and they're like, "You give me your cell number?" I'm like, "Yeah, just text me, call me." They're like, "What?" I'm like, that's how it is, right? People are very willing to share.
I got text messages this morning from people we met last night asking questions.
Exactly.
That's great.
Exactly. Yeah. So if you're out there, you want to get plugged in, like show up at an event, jump in. We're here to help. All right, but first, let's get into. I like to start off with just the company, right? I want to make sure the audience understands like why you're even here. Who are you? So you're representing Global Messenger, you're the CEO. Tell us about Global Messenger. Global
Messenger was founded as Global Messenger Corporation in 1990 in a row home with 3 car drivers in Baltimore City.
Okay.
And it was MBE, WE, which it still is today.
Yep.
Started off doing courier messenger service. That's why Messenger's still in our name.
Mm-hmm.
But it started in 1990 with just my friend's father, his mother, and him.
Wow.
They started a business. I think his father was 75 years old when they started this business, and he worked into his 90s.
Damn.
He was a Wharton grad and really, really smart guy. I love talking to him. But, they started this company. It had been in the import-export business before that. And
okay.
They grew it from there. I mean, back in the day, you used to do everything before innovation changed the ways things were done. But
Yeah. So how big is Global Messenger today? How many states you operate in? How many drivers? Kind of what types of deliveries and work that you do?
So Global Messenger has really morphed into a true logistics company. Thus our name, Global Messenger and Logistics now. But we've progressively changed with the industry. You know, we do anything from a car all the way up to a tractor trailer. Our sweet spot's probably cargo vans, box trucks.
Okay.
And we do so many different types of work now. We do a lot of work in the medical field, whether it's prescription deliveries, picking up specimens, putting them on planes because we're in IAC, so we ship things around the country. Planes.
What's IAC? Hold on.
Oh, sorry. Good point. Good point.
IAC.
So to go backwards a little bit, you know, they created TSA requirements back when we had some issues with security in the airline industry.
The Transportation Security Administration.
Right,
Yep.
right. And an IAC is an indirect air carrier, and gives you permission to put things on a passenger plane versus a cargo plane.
I got it.
So we have drivers that are specially trained in the Maryland area as well as elsewhere around the country. But we're headquartered in Baltimore, and that's where we originated. We're still there.
Got it.
But it gives us permission to put things on a passenger plane. It's got to be cleared in certain ways and whatnot. And it's a specialized service, but it's a way we can get something from here to somewhere else the same day. I'll give you a great example.
Mm-hmm.
One of the first things that we did when I came into the business and said, well, why can't we do this? Is we pick up food from one of our clients in Baltimore. We put it on a plane. We fly it out to Las Vegas. It's on the dinner table at that hotel tonight.
Damn.
So they can never be out of product. So some of the stuff is imported from Spain.
Okay.
And we get it there the same day so they can have it on their menu and serve it. Never be out of anything.
Yeah. And how many markets are you doing this in today?
And I sat down with our team, and I think...
Story time with drop-off. The lab test that just couldn't wait. A hospital system needed a delivery fast. The patient was prepped, the doctors were waiting, and time was just not on their side. Enter drop-off. Drop-off showed up with the certified driver, temperature-controlled equipment, and live updates along the way. That wasn't just moving a package, it was saving a life. And that's the type of reliability that drop-off brings in 35-plus markets across the U.S. Powered by smart technology, but always with people and drivers who care. Turn this story into your reality. Visit dropoff.com today.
On a daily basis, we were in like 23 different states in Puerto Rico, but we're in so many different states now because we do things like reverse logistics. We do refrigerator and temperature control deliveries. We have temperature control warehouse. We do distribution, storage. We do just about anything because there's nothing I'm not willing to try.
Yeah.
Not always the best decision, but there's nothing I'm not willing to try. And, you know, we do so many different things. And if a client asks you to do something, you're going to do it. You want to help them because if not, somebody else is going to do it. So, you know, for instance, one of our clients asked us, can you help us? We're opening up our client's opening up a restaurant in Disney Springs. This was right before COVID. And we need refrigerated and frozen storage and dry storage. Can you help us? So we went down there and partnered in a warehouse and opened up so we could deliver in refrigerated vehicles to Disney Springs. And that's just the type of mentality we have. How can we help our clients? So we ended up in so many different states. Somebody needed help in Puerto Rico. So we went down to Puerto Rico and found some space down there and shared some and just do things.
I love it. I appreciate it because I think certainly in this space when you're offering customized solutions, you got to be willing to kind of dibble and dabble and figure out kind of what your best swim lane is. But sometimes it doesn't work out, right? So sometimes you try something and you're like, you know, this is not for me. Have you had some of those experiences?
I've had some of those experiences.
What happened there?
I think one of the experiences that we tried, we met somebody at one of the shows, and they were doing auctions of people's homes. So everything inside the house they were auctioning off. And then they asked us to pick it up, box it up, ship it out, or if it's local, to drive and deliver it. But they had no chain of custody. And we got into the situations where they didn't even know what they were giving us to pack up and ship out. And it just wasn't a good mix. It wasn't a good fit for us. So we backed out of that type of work. But we thought it would be an interesting opportunity because we had never done anything like that. So we became like a packaging company and a shipping company and all sorts of things that we hadn't done before. This was years ago. But it was a learning experience.
It's kind of one of like these, let me blank on it. There's a company back in Louisiana that would do like these, liquidate like offices and people selling like office furniture. They would go in and package up and that kind of stuff. But you're right. That could be complicated because you're probably sending it to so many people, and who knows where it's going. It could be a challenge.
They could have something like a ring, but they don't describe what type of ring, and they give you 3 rings, and then they don't know which ring is which.
And the value of the
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Just an example where they only give you 2 rings, but yet they have 3 that they're supposed to ship out, but they don't know what they did with the 3rd ring. And that was a problem because they really didn't have, they were still learning their way, but they didn't have a good chain of custody or accountability method.
Yeah. What would you say of all the things you do today, what are some of the top verticals or types of work that you guys kind of hang your hat on? These are things you like, the core things that you say, I see this, I know it, I want it. We can do this well.
We do a couple things that I really like. And then there's also things that I really appreciate that we do. And let me walk backwards a second. One of the things I like about what we do and our industry is we affect people's lives every single day. And our drivers understand the value of what they do. For example, my mom would get prescriptions delivered to her house on every single day that she needed them. So if a Friday comes and you don't make that delivery, what happens? You're affecting somebody's life. They don't have their medicines over the weekend. So our drivers understand the importance of what they do. And we deliver medical specimens. You go to the doctor, you get a specimen drawn. It might have an effect on whether you can have surgery the next day. Mm-hmm. So it's so important that you be timely and you control the specimen properly and enjoy the fact that we can help people and make their lives better. And that's a rewarding work. We deliver many, many different things.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the other things I like that we do is we do what people call white glove delivery in the medical field.
Okay.
So we go up into New Jersey, we go up into New York, and we'll deliver medical products to hospitals, to doctors' offices. We'll take it up to the 16th floor, put it in the closet right side up, and they don't have to touch it. Mm-hmm. They don't want to touch it. Somebody might not have the ability to lift it. So we provide that kind of specialized service.
Yeah.
And we're finding more and more companies want that type of service.
Yeah, that kind of niche, that high touch. Mm-hmm. It also probably helps to, that work is a little more high touch. So maybe we can charge a little more, maybe a little bit better margin, probably not as much competition in that space. So I think those things lend itself well when you can find the more, maybe sometimes more challenging, but the more unique, the more variety, variation these deliveries have. If you can figure that out and communicate that downstream to the driver to build consistency, those types of customers can become very sticky to the business.
Oh, for sure. And for our customers, it helps them get extra customers because they're able to provide this high level service that a lot of companies don't offer. So they always tell us about, our customers love you. Everybody wants to get to use Global for their deliveries.
Yeah.
Not everybody can use Global for their deliveries in their market because there's a cost to that to them. Uh-huh. But where it makes sense, everybody wants to use Global, and all the salespeople want to sign up and get Global to do their deliveries. Yeah. So it's a great feeling. We love to hear. It's always nice to hear the positive comments people make about your drivers, about your staff, and we get some really good feedback. And it's nice to be able to say that and be able to share that with your staff.
Yeah. Talk to me about, I know you guys outsource work. You do it in multiple markets. So your assets may be covering a portion of this, but then you work with other partners.
Yes.
How do you go about that process of identifying who you're going to work with, the terms of that relationship? How do you ensure that the expectations your client has for Global is carried out by this partner?
Well, first of all, we want to look for somebody who's going to do business like we do business. Mm-hmm. We want it to be seamless. I want to be able to trust that people are going to do it exactly the way I would do it as far as quality of service and levels of care. Mm-hmm. So we'll vet these people. The first place I start is I'm looking for a CLDA member because I know that these people have made a commitment to the organization and to trying to do what we all do. Mm-hmm. So if you look around at our partners around the country, we might have met them first through the CLDA.
Right.
And I can tell you how many good partners we have around the country. It's really, really nice. And we'll fly into the cities and set things up and get it going and work with our partners to make sure it's being done the way we want it to be done. And, again, it's just such a really good relationship. I love to talk about the CLDA, as you know, because, that's where I cut my teeth.
Yeah.
And it's been so valuable.
Well, let's go. We're going to come there. But first, before we get there, you didn't start off in this industry.
I did not. You never thought I'd be in this industry.
What were you doing before you got in here? And what made you come into this industry?
So my background is I'm a CPA. I went to college for accounting, came out of college, went to work in the public accounting field for KPMG. What's KPMG? And worked in audit, hated audit because I kept thinking I find mistakes. And first mistake I found was $1 million mistake for one of the beverage companies. And I thought, wow, I found this great thing. And then people told me that's not material. It's not important. I was like, huh?
$1 million?
I was like, that just blew my mind. And then I kept thinking every time I found a mistake, somebody was going to get fired. And I didn't like that. So I switched over to tax because I knew other people in it. And I went to Deloitte & Touche and I learned tax. And then I felt good because I could save people money. I could help, give them consulting on how to run a business. I enjoyed that part of things.
Yep.
And that's where I started. Left public accounting, tried to convince my mom to open a restaurant. She didn't want to open a restaurant. So finally I decided to open a restaurant and went into a pizza and Italian restaurant. Okay. And thought we were going to open a whole chain of restaurants.
So from scratch, ground up?
From scratch. Built the restaurant. We got really big into catering because we were in a area that was a lot of businesses. And we started catering was more business than our restaurant some days because we weren't in a highly residential area.
Okay.
But again, it was always challenging to figure out ways to create new business and opportunities.
I've heard, I haven't worked in one, but the restaurant industry is one of, if not the hardest industries to be successful in. It's like feast or famine.
It's very hard. I think they say the average life of a business is 2 years in the restaurant industry. And your margins are so low. People think you're making tons of money on every product, but your margins are low. So you have to be so careful about your levels of service, your quality of your food, not being wasteful.
Yeah.
A lot of traits that you carry into the courier and logistics world.
Yeah, it could be a low margin industry. You're probably not as limited because with restaurants you're limited to the actual location, the how many tables you have in the space, et cetera. You can maybe complement that with catering,
right?
But just somewhat of a ceiling on that until you get to the second location, third location.
We did catering, then we branched down to doing festivals, which was a lot of fun. Always had a good time doing like some of the music festivals and things like that.
Okay.
I can remember I had kids with me and they would come and work at the festivals. That was always a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Got many stories. We can talk about that one day.
Okay. Another podcast episode. So how'd you actually get into this? So then what happened? So you leave the restaurant industry?
I was still in the restaurant industry, but the restaurant didn't need me to be there all the time.
Okay.
So my friend from childhood asked me, hey, could I come help him a couple of days a week? I had a financial background, I had a consulting background. So I said, sure, I got time. I'll come help you a couple of days a week. Mm-hmm. And that's when I went to work at Global Messenger Corporation and learned how they did things. And it was interesting because I had an outsider's view. The only thing I knew about delivery was how to deliver hot food for a lunch meeting or something like that. I didn't know anything about the delivery business.
Yep.
So I came in with a totally different perspective. And I always enjoyed talking to my friend's father because, again, I said he was a Wharton grad, business background. And one of the things I said to him is, why do you turn down certain business? And the conversation revolved around profit margin. I'm like, well, why do we look at profit margin? I said, don't we also want to look at what it does to the bottom line, regardless of profit margin? Mm-hmm. So over a period of time, I don't remember how long, started to get the organization to change their mentality and look at what it did to the bottom line, not just what did it do on an individual job. Mm. And is this customer, when you take the volume of their work, do we have to increase any overhead? Do we have to do anything? What is it going to do to our bottom line? And is it worth it to do it from that perspective? And it changed the way we did business.
Yeah. What you're talking about is something that I had to learn too in my career was we called it the net contribution of a particular account. So normally, not for every account, but your larger accounts, maybe your top 10, maybe top 20, depending on your size of your business. But we started looking at the net contribution of that account where you are looking at all the costs, everything, and what's it doing to the bottom line? Because we'll probably get more into this when you try to, if you could design the perfect final mile company, right, you would want them all that, the net contribution is, 25, 30%, something like that. Right. The driver split, admin costs. But the reality is some of them complement each other. Some of them go hand in hand. So you got to be able to kind of look at these things in a silo, but have your eyes on the bigger picture. I'm sure your background, being a CPA, helped you do that.
I'm numbers guy first. Yeah, right.
Yeah, you are a numbers guy. Okay, so but when you were doing that, at what point did you go from being like a consultant into actually getting into the business?
I think it was like 2012. I agreed to sell the restaurant and come in full time.
Why?
Why did I agree to it, or why was it 2012?
Why'd you agree to it?
Oh, we'll have to need another podcast for that. But I thought it was a good opportunity. It was time for a change. The restaurant business is an unforgiving business. It affects all qualities of life. Mm-hmm. You know, it's a lot of long hours. It affects your family time. And I just said it was time. You know, I talked about it with my family and said it was time. And this was an opportunity. I like challenges. So this was an opportunity to take on a new challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Little did I know, you know, as much as I did years later, but I had, from 2008 to 2012, I had gone to some shows. I'd gone to some events. I started to learn what the industry was about. And I saw a lot of opportunity. And I saw a lot of excitement for me, you know, to be personally challenged and engaged on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah. So you jump in 2000 and like officially when you
2012. It was January 2012 when I sold the restaurant business, and somewhere thereafter,
got it.
You know, went over and joined Global Messenger, which is still Global Messenger Corporation. Somewhere along the line, we changed from Global Messenger Corporation to Global Messenger and Logistics.
Okay.
You know,
And that's because you guys were expanding the service offerings.
Exactly. We were really no longer a messenger company, because you think about delivering envelopes from one point to another.
Yeah. We've all heard the saying before, trust but verify. But in the last mile, when you're working with agents and master contractors, verification is manual, complex, and very rarely achieved. Enter GigSafe. GigSafe solved the problem that matters to you most. They've built a new network compliance tool that ties in master contractors, agents, and carriers so they can connect, validate, and authenticate their delivery and driver networks. With automated onboarding, live compliance tracking, and insurance verification, all happening in real time. No spreadsheets, no follow-ups, no more hoping that my partners are doing it right. Just one connected platform where visibility and control are at every layer of your operation. Turn your compliance into your competitive advantage. Visit gigsafe.com today.
But technology changed a lot of that, and we grew into a different type of entity and started doing a lot of different types of things.
And one of the things you did early on, as you told me off camera, was look at the driver model or really how you guys were able to try to change some things to mitigate some of the risk, and specific to the company-owned vehicles versus using ICs in their own vehicles.
Right.
What was that process like? So
we had trucks and we did truck work, but we owned the trucks, and we would send out a driver from the office or whatever to go if we chose to do that, and they'd go perform the truck work. And I said, why are we doing this? I said, we're an IC model company. Why don't we have IC trucks? Mm-hmm. And we went out and started hiring IC trucks, and we started growing our trucking business. And then somewhere along the line, we started growing our warehousing business, because it goes hand in hand with the trucking business. Mm-hmm. And we never looked back from there.
Yeah. What would you say right now? I mean, you've been doing it for, I guess, over 10 years now, right? You've been in the industry. What's the biggest takeaway you've had now that you've been in it for 10 years, in terms of the upside of the industry? You talk about, you come from the restaurant industry. You talk about some of the challenges there. What have you enjoyed most about this?
What have I enjoyed most is probably the fact that every day is different. Every day presents a different challenge. And I say sometimes that can be stressful. Mm-hmm. It also is invigorating. Mm-hmm. And just like the restaurant business, the logistics business gets in your blood. Once it's in your blood, it's in your blood. You know, you've been in it. Yeah. It's never going to leave your blood. It's invigorating. I go in there and, you know, some people look at things as problems. I look at them as challenges and opportunities. It's just a matter of perspective.
Yeah.
And it keeps you engaged. It keeps you going. I could see why his father worked into his 90s, because he enjoyed going in every day. He kept his mind sharp. He kept him.
That's true. Yeah, I think that there's a beautiful thing about how every day is different in this industry. Right? It can be crazy sometimes. Sometimes you want to lose stability, but it gets you excited because you never quite know the challenge you're gonna have to solve that particular day.
Yeah. And one of the things that I really like is we're not an off-the-shelf type of company. You don't go in and say, I want this product. We're a true customized logistic company. What's your problem? Let's customize a solution for what you need. Mm-hmm. And again, that gives us a chance to use our problem-solving abilities, you know, to do some computational thinking. And we just enjoy doing that. And I'm trying to pass that down to others so that they can keep this company going long after I'm gone. Yeah. And that same mold and mentality, because like I said, once it gets in your blood, it's in your blood. And the restaurant industry is the same way. I had people work for me that went on to culinary school that opened their own restaurants because it gets in your blood. Yeah. And you love it. But the difference in the restaurant industry, it doesn't bring that same day-to-day challenge.
Yeah, it's kind of mundane. It's a little monotonous. I guess you guys you started getting a little taste of it with the catering stuff, right?
Yes,
You got a little
yes,
taste
that,
of-
and we create our own catering menu. And people didn't do hot food. You know, you went for lunch, it was always like a cold deli platter. Well, we started doing hot food. We had lasagna, we had chicken parmesan, all different things that people could have that they never could get before.
Yeah.
And that's challenging too, because you're trying to juggle what time to make it, how to get it delivered there on time and still make it hot. Cold, you don't have that issue. I could make a 5-foot sub at 9 o'clock in the morning for a 12 o'clock meeting.
Right. Let's go. I want to go a little bit deeper before we shift into different gear on global, which is, I know you made some improvements to the business when you came in, whether it be technology side. We talked about the driver piece already. What were some of the early things that you saw, you noticed, where you said we got to dig into this to fix this to position ourselves for success?
Well, there's a lot of different things, but one of the things that sticks out in my mind as I was thinking about this on the plane the other day is I remember when I used to come into work, they had this wall and it was just a big piece of metal.
Okay.
And it was lined up with different squares, and each square was a different driver. And there was the days where a ticket would come back from the customer service representatives. They take a magnet and they put it up on this metal board underneath a driver name. And that's how these things would work. And if they wanted to shift it to a driver, they just took the magnet and moved it to another driver. And I started going to industry events and I started seeing the technology that was out there. And I'm like, well, why are we doing that? Let's start to look and learn what's out there. So start doing, you're doing your podcast. I started interviewing people, ask them what different softwares they use and what different programs. And we went and actually decided to try to create our own. Because I liked back office stuff over here.
Yeah.
I liked front office over here. And I liked different parts of it, but I didn't like any of the software as it was as one. So we tried to create our own model.
How was that? How did that work out?
Well, not so good. So we hired a company to do it. And there was a lot of good things about it. But that company went out of business. We never got to where we wanted. And the software designers would come and go. And so when somebody new would step in, they didn't know what the last one may have done, and it made it challenging. But we knew what we were trying to accomplish. And still, it's the same thing in our industry. We understand different companies' softwares have different strengths and different weaknesses, and you're constantly trying to make your company more efficient. And technology is going to keep advancing. Yeah. And you've got to stay ahead of technology if you want to stay in business.
Yeah. No, 100%. That's it's what's challenging about that is I've been a part of, talked about on this podcast before, when I was at Drop Off. Drop Off had its own proprietary technology platform, and I was a big company, and you see a department full of people dedicated to tech, and it's hard to stay on top of it, even with people in-house. I mean, it's a challenge to kind of keep that thing moving because it's always changing, always evolving. We're offering customized services. So customer A wants to do the delivery this way, but customer C wants to do it that way. And the tech has a bit to kind of help you mitigate that. So it is a challenge, and it's a challenge. I think you obviously learned that probably the harder way, but you took the initiative to go try it, and I bet you learned a lot from that process.
We did, and our staff did. Yeah, we learned the goods and the bads, what we liked, what we didn't like. If we could do it all over again, how would we do it different? Yeah. But the fact is, we tried, like you said, and we took a chance to do something a little bit different than just, again, doing something off the shelf. Yeah.
The other thing I want to ask you about on the business is the family business, or I could say sometimes people say family business or the business of family. Your son recently joined the company. What's it like working with your son in the business now?
Well, it depends on the day, right? And that could be really, really good or really challenging. And in a family relationship, it's some days it's dad and some days it's Joel. And we have those conversations. But it's nice to be able to work with your family. But every day, you have differences of opinions. You might butt heads, you might not. But the fact of the matter is your family, at least in my case, has the same passion and the same desires. Wants to take things to the next level, wants to keep pushing, wants to keep going. How can we help the customers better? What can we do to make their days easier? And that level of care that you get from a family member that's committed is just, it's fantastic. Yeah. And I enjoyed having family work together. And before I, started full-time in the business, like I said, my friend's family started the business. They were all family, and our business treats everybody like family. It's one of the things about working for Global is we look at everybody as family. And it just makes I've worked in corporate world, like I said, when I did accounting. It's a totally different relationship.
Yeah.
So
does it make it? So I have the same experience as we've talked offline about it.
Right,
I was working with my parents, my brother for a little while. I had an uncle in the business. I've had a cousin in the business. And yes, the trust is there. Should be most of the times it's there. But what makes it challenging is when someone's not doing their part.
Right.
And you have to address it. Accountability has to be at the core of any organization. There's some times where you can have some difficult conversations. I had to fire my uncle from the company. I've certainly had plenty of arguments with my dad, and it makes Thanksgiving dinner pretty interesting, right? Have you ever had any experiences where you've had to had the difficult side of that environment, that family business environment?
Oh, sure. And we had in the restaurant too, because the kids work with me in the restaurant. So
yeah.
It's always a different challenge, a different dynamic. There's sometimes when you have family, you have different conversations than you would if you weren't family. But at the end of the day, it's all about the fact that, and for me, I understand my kids. They have passion. They care. So their heart's in the right place.
Yeah.
And that's what matters. Now, we all make mistakes in how we do things, and that's how you learn. And I want them to continue to keep trying. They don't always have to ask my permission for everything, because we know what we're trying to accomplish. Go out and try to do it. And in my case, my son's willing to go out and try and take chances. And he's trying to learn and find his way. And, he just went to a conference for the first time on his own because I needed a break. And that was a huge conference. And I'm sure it could have been overwhelming, but he took it on head on. And I'm sure it was a great learning experience. We're still talking about it because we're trying to catch up on everything.
Yeah.
But, family cares.
Yeah, that I do.
And you could see that in our office. You can just see that all the way around. People really care about their job. And I've always said, I don't like people who punch a clock. If you get done your work early and you go home early, great. If you still got work to do, stay late and get it done. But you can see when people really have a passion and care about what they're doing. And they care about our clients. They care about the people next to them. It's a great feeling when they have that.
And it's a two-way street, because you have to get that. I think you have to be, you got to give up. You got to have the environment where they feel they can, be empowered and have the desire to put the extra hours and the extra effort because it's meaningful to them, right? And I think family does help to bring that together. I want to change gears a little bit.
Sure.
I introduced you earlier, current CLDA president. I'm immediate past president.
Right.
I want your thoughts. And so we're going to talk about the CLDA. We talked about CLDA a lot on this podcast. And if you haven't heard about it, please CLDA.org. Check it out. A bunch of resources. But the angle for this conversation, this part of the conversation is being the president of a national trade association. Not very many people have had the privilege and the honor of being in that position. Not many people understand the responsibility and the commitment it takes to be in that. It looks fun. You see the guy up on the stage at the conferences presenting, or at the events and on the webinars. But there's a lot that goes into that. Talk about just the role that you serve in, and one, why did you put your name in the hat to do it? And what is it? What's some of the challenges, the things you've had with this experience so far, the good and the bad?
Well, let me walk it backwards a little bit, right? So when I got in the industry, I didn't really know anything about the industry. So if you'll let me have some leeway, I'll talk about that travel.
Go for it.
So
I tell people all the time, it's your show. I'm just hosting it.
So back in 2000, I think it was 2010, out at the Red Rock Casino, I went to my first CLDA conference. But I was familiar with accounting conferences. I had a real estate license. I go to real estate conferences. So I understood the value of going to conferences. I went out to my first conference. I didn't know anybody in the room. Guy gets up on stage, the president's talking about verticals. I'm like, what the heck's a vertical? I'm thinking of blinds, and I don't know what a vertical is. And so they were kind enough to explain it to me. And then afterwards, they continued that education. I'm like, wow, this is great. People are willing to share. They don't worry about if you're a competitor, or you take their work. They didn't care about that because there's ethics in this business, right? People help each other. And I was like, that's really great. And I continued to ask questions, and I continued to, if a person didn't know, they'd send me to somebody else who could help me in the association. And I started to gather a really fond, feeling for the association. And I kept going back because I think the first 3 years it was all out at Red Rock Casino in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
And I'm not the hugest fan of the Las Vegas, but these shows were fantastic. Some of the people that I'm friends with now, I met on the bowling alley because they had an event in Las Vegas. That was one of the networking events. And we're great friends today. We do business today. But again, this was a network of people who are willing to help people. And I always tell people, you don't have to go out and pay for education. There's people right there who want to give it to you for free. Mm-hmm. Make use of that. CLDA members are looking to pass it on, pay it forward, as we say.
Yeah.
So take advantage of that opportunity. So somewhere along the line, I asked one of the people who was on the board, I said, how can I help? How can I give back? I'm learning so much. I'd love to give back. So I joined the membership committee. And through the membership committee, I got to meet people all over the country. Mm-hmm. And I was like, wow, this is really exciting. I just met somebody from this town. And anytime I would travel, like we went up to Toronto, I got together for dinner with a Toronto carrier. Mm-hmm. I'd meet people. I became friendly with people because it's such an open, welcoming environment, and so somewhere along the line, I think it was 2017 or such, they asked me to run for the board. So I ran for the board, kept working on the committee, started other committees, and then I was asked if I would put my name in a hat for president. I said, hey, I want to give back any way that people want me to give back because I really appreciate everything that everyone's done for me. So I was elected president. I hadn't really understood fully what the job of president was, but I just wanted to give back. I enjoyed working for the association and helping people. So I thought it was a great opportunity.
Yeah.
Fast forward into becoming president, mm-hmm. You don't know what you don't know. But it is. It's a challenge because you're navigating a lot of different things and you never know what's going to come around the next corner.
Yeah.
But like I said, I like challenges. And, I wouldn't change it for anything.
Yeah.
It's just, it's exciting. It's challenging. Sometimes it can be time consuming, just like any job, it's a job that you got to make a commitment to fulfilling.
Yeah.
But that sort of brings you full circle and where I started in CLDA to where I got. You were talking about Last2First, right? So mm-hmm. I first got in, I didn't know anything.
Yeah.
And now people will look to me for information or for guidance. And I feel great about being able to pay that forward.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people in our industry who are like that.
Yeah. I'm glad you called. I appreciate the shout out on Last2First.
Sure.
But that's, I had a similar story, although, my parents were in the industry. But I remember my first conference, I didn't know anybody, like nobody. Maybe because people knew my parents. My parents weren't even there. And then similarly, I got involved and got engaged, and then you start to want to give back. And I've seen you grow. I've had the benefit of being on the board with you and seeing you grow and develop into the leader that you are today. And that's the one thing when you serve this role. I guess it's like any president of any organization, you don't know what's coming around that corner,
right?
And you have to be. When you're a leader, especially in this environment, you got all type A personalities. Most of the people on that board, they own their own businesses. They're used to being the kings or queens of their own domain, and so you're all of a sudden in this position where you've got to manage a bunch of personalities. And sometimes every president has some type of issue, challenge that pops up, whether it be internal, external, whatever it may come up with. For people that may be thinking about joining the association and hearing us talk about the benefits of it, how would you tell them to kind of get engaged and get involved? And why is that valuable for them?
Well, there's a lot of opportunities to get engaged and get involved. And depends on the level of your business, depends on your time availability. But as an example, we had that Connect event yesterday in Austin. And fantastic. People met others. People came to this Connect event from Michigan, from New York, from Florida. DC, Florida, California. I mean, there were people from all over the country that flew in for the event. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how much business took place yesterday, but it was, a lot of business. People are looking for business. They say, hey, where can I find a shipper? And you look around the room, and every one of us that's a carrier is a shipper.
Oh, yeah.
Because we could talk to that earlier. If my customer needs something in another state, we got to help them and take care of them.
Yeah.
And so the networking opportunities in the organization are just tremendous. So you could come to a local networking event. You can come to the Final Mile Forum Conference, which is a networking event, like a local networking event, but it's on steroids. Mm-hmm. There's so much opportunity to meet so many people. You can get business at these events. Mm-hmm. You just need to be present, and you need a commitment to keep continuing to do it.
Yeah.
Because carriers want to find other people that they can help grow their businesses. There's a lot of us out there that want to do that and give back and help people start from being that one single driver to master contractor to opening their own company where they have many, many drivers and in multiple locations. Mm-hmm. And if you look at CLDA history and you just pick some of the people that have been leaders over the years, you could see how one guy might have started with a car in his garage to whatever. There's so many stories like that.
Yeah.
And I encourage everybody to come out and join the association, get involved for the networking. There's education of all different levels, whether you're a new person to the industry or whether you've been in an industry for 20 years. There's different types of education for different people. And
yeah,
you got to go do it. That's all.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that we probably haven't done the greatest job of as an association, is talking about, we say networking, but
right.
People think that we're just meeting people, talking shop, learning a couple of things. Well, absolutely, certainly. But I would probably argue, just knowing that room a little bit last night, I'll probably be safe to say it's probably $1 million. I would say probably will be exchanged from the connections made.
At least, because I heard some of the stories that people were talking about where they needed help.
At least I had one lady who flew in from, I think it's Florida, and she said that her friend asked her, "You're going to fly into Austin for a 2-hour networking event? Like, why would you do that?" And at the end of the night, she's telling me, like, this was the best decision that I could have ever made, because it fast tracks you. Everything's about access to information, and the people that have the information are people that have done it before you. Why would you not want to be in the room with the people that have not only done it before, you can learn from? But you know what? If you're a smaller company in the space, you know this. We've all been there at one point. Your best customer is probably a global messenger, right? It's probably one of these regional carriers out there. It's not necessarily the big shipper today, maybe tomorrow.
Right.
And so that's where you want to be. And I would argue it's the intimacy of these environments is unmatched and unparalleled.
Well, like I told you, I want to do people that I've met face to face and I can put a level of trust in. I don't want to have them do some work for me if I can't count on them to do work like I do and be accountable for their performance.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I think the CLDA can do better is explain to people how good we are at networking and how much business we share between all of our businesses. I don't know that number, but it's a huge number. Mm-hmm. And people need to be aware of it. And we need to tell people more our story, that we are so good at network. We're probably the best organization at networking in our industry. Yeah. We just don't tell people that story. We just say we do networking.
Yeah, like an unkept secret.
It is. Yeah. If you come to these events and you get involved, you're going to get business.
Yeah, no doubt.
And you're going to increase and grow your business.
Yeah. I want to segue. We're probably wrapping up here. I like to ask our guests their last to first moment. You mentioned it. Maybe you've already kind of went to it. Well, let me back up a little bit. Maybe your last and first moment was kind of the restaurant piece of coming back and forth. If you have one, great. But I really want you to shed your insight on the future of this industry and kind of where it's going. You have the privilege of being, over this national association. You talk to people nationally, internationally. You know the issues, the challenges. We talk a lot about the challenges in the space, pricing compression, legislative issues, etc. But from your vantage point, where do you see the industry headed, the future of the final mile, last mile space?
I'll talk about where I see the industry headed. I'll also talk about some things that I'd like to see us do for the industry.
Okay.
Technology is going to keep forcing us forward. I don't know exactly where that's going to go in the next 5 to 10 years, but I always joke, I say one day I'm going to go to work and then my car is going to go to work. Mm-hmm. I saw some of that in action down here in Austin. It's still got a ways to go, but
it's coming though.
It is coming. The technology advancements, people can think it's coming. If you as kids, we'd watch TV shows that were sci-fi, right? Uh-huh. Whether it was inventing the submarine or airplane, all this stuff was just in TV shows once upon a time. And then it becomes reality.
Yeah.
So these things that people can think about are going to become reality, and everybody wants everything faster, less expensive, and technology keeps pushing us in that direction. Mm-hmm. So that's where I see the changes are going to be. And I don't know exactly where that's going to happen or when it's going to happen, but I know that we got to keep pace with it.
Yeah.
And things that I would like to see our industry do. And it's, as president, you think you can get everything done in a couple of years, but you can't. Mm-hmm. One is I'd like to see more networking for the young, up and coming C-suite people, so they get nurtured more. We want them to network amongst themselves but have mentors there for them, and create a program and a network for the next level of people to come through our industry.
Yeah.
And the second one that sort of goes hand in hand with that is I want to create a network of opportunities for people who want to intern and get their feet wet in the supply chain field. I remember during COVID, people could not get internships because you couldn't do anything in person. Then it made it harder for them to get jobs out of college because they had an intern. But I see a lot of opportunity to connect people in high school and college who want to get their feet wet and see what the supply chain industry is, whether it's in the last mile space or somewhere different. But colleges are now creating programs around those, supply chain.
Yeah.
And there's different majors and minors. And I see us being able to build that network and opportunity for the young people so that they can get their feet wet. They can see what it is. It gets in their blood, and we'll continue growing our industry and bringing it forward. They're learning things in college that we never learned in college, and it's going to keep being that way.
Yeah, yeah.
And I just see that as a great opportunity.
Yeah, and I think just to wrap up your point, I think it's an excellent point you made. As the world changes, which it always will, right? It's going to keep evolving and changing. I think investing in those the younger folks that's coming into the industry, and then us being willing to learn from them, because that's really how you, I think, set yourself up for success, because we all have different ideas. We talked about the power of networking, exchanging information. And it's kind of what you've done in even your story. You came into the industry from a different industry and different set of experiences and brought that in. And obviously Global has benefited from that. You've personally benefited from that. The association has benefited from that. The industry has benefited from that. And so I think it's just taking that at first initiative, and being able to be a sponge and to give back. And I truly appreciate kind of all the things you've done. As I said earlier, I appreciate kind of seeing your leadership and what you've done in the association. And I'm glad to have you on the podcast. I've been trying to get you on this thing for a little while, so we finally made it happen.
I appreciate it. It's nice to get into your hometown and be able to do this.
Yeah.
And find a little bit of time.
Yeah.
It's funny you use that word sponge, but that's what I tell people. I said, you come into the industry and just be a sponge and absorb all the information people are willing to share with you. Just keep asking questions.
Yeah.
Because you'll learn, and then you can pay it forward to the next group of people.
That's it. Last2First, Jason Burns, Joel Pinsky. Got a lot of nuggets here, a lot of information. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Joel, thank you for being on again. And until next time, we're out.
Thanks for having me, Jason.
Thank you for being
Appreciate
there.
it.
Yeah, definitely. All right, we're out. Peace.